Hi, I'm that guy. And as you can probably tell by that dopey grin brimming with childlike wonder, Halo is a very special game to me. I first played the game when I was like 6 or 7 years old, and it blew my mind. Now, although I have a lot of experience playing Halo games, I am a complete VR noob, as they say in the classics. I have a Quest 2 and played a bit of Beat Saber like 4 years ago, and haven't played any VR first-person shooters or any VR since Beat Saber, really. And just generally speaking, I am an idiot. When the time came to pick a difficulty, I did what any sane idiot would do, which would be to start a legendary playthrough, with the goal to play through the whole game as if it was the first time. Now at this point, I was still experiencing nostalgia-fueled euphoria. I executed a nigh-flawless rendition of the Arbiter and Prophet of Truth.
There was only one ship. Are you sure?
I was in such high spirits, in fact, that I even made advances towards Captain Keyes. Seeing the Chief for the first time triggered yet another set of superbly delivered Halo quotes.
Get the Covenant back there, bomb. Wake me when you need me.
And with that, we were gaming. I waved goodbye to the lovely man who raised me from my slumber.
Bye, bro.
And began traversing the ship and figuring out the controls. For example, to crouch, you crouch.
Oh, that's sick. That's actually awesome.
I celebrated the revelation with yet another dazzling dialogue recital.
Sir, the captain needs you on the bridge
ASAP. Better follow me.
When I found Captain Keyes, I displayed my respect for the chain of command
Captain Keyes.
before reciprocating his firm handshake. If you can't tell, I'm really enjoying this whole VR thing so far. I scored my first elite kill and
You got it.
immediately attempted to defile his corpse. Luckily, his mate stopped me before I could incriminate myself.
He's got mates.
I had managed to acquire the S-tier combo of the plasma pistol and the pistol, and I put it to work immediately, noob comboing this elite, before discovering that to melee in game, you actually, melee, you hit.
Yeah. Oh, this actually works. Yeah.
Although when I tried it against this red elite, it resulted in my first death of the playthrough.
Catch this dickhead.
There goes flawless, boys. I crept up on this grunt like a lion stalking an antelope before unleashing the beast and taking my anger out on him. I got my revenge on this guy and started defiling him.
You feel okay, buddy?
I'm not sure if I like the version of myself that emerges in VR. I kept going on throughout the mission, dispatched these 2 elites before throwing a grenade at my feet while trying to find the flashlight button.
Oh.
Couldn't find it. I felt dizzy after performing this jump into crouch maneuver and accidentally switched my flashlight on.
Oh. How did I do that?
You actually lift your hand to your head to switch on the flashlight. Isn't that sick? Like, that's where the flashlight comes out in game and you get it. You get it. I made a questionable gameplay decision when I decided to aggressively peek an enemy position while I had no shield and was on 1 HP, promptly dying. Only to respawn, throw a grenade at the wall next to me, and then to complete the trifecta of ineptitude, I throw yet another grenade at the pole directly in front of me.
Oh, I'm an idiot.
I am awesome.
Can I have that, please?
I found another pistol on the ground, and the little I was forced to use anything other than it really highlighted how absurdly overpowered this thing is in this game. I then displayed my dominance over this single grunt by T-posing over his corpse. I am 26 years old. I got rushed down by an elite and dispatched him just in time. I tried to beat him while he was already dead, but his mate stuck up for him and shot me.
Sorry.
The protector became the victim, and I did things that I'm not proud of. I waved to my adoring fans.
Hello.
Once out of the maintenance shaft, I adopted the same strategy I implemented when I was 7 years old, of just standing there, throwing grenades and hoping for the best. And hey, to be honest, 7-year-old me was kind of onto something, because I destroyed those nerds. And with that, I boarded the life pod and got the hecking frick off the ship. 1 mission down, 9 to go. When I stepped out of the life pod on the Halo ring and looked around, it was as if it was the first time. And not gonna lie, when the string drone comes in as you're crossing the bridge and Cortana tells you that the Covenant are hunting survivors, I actually felt scared. An emotion I haven't felt here since I was a child.
Alert! Covenant dropship inbound. They must be looking for survivors. I recommend immediate evasion.
There is just something about being there, like obviously in VR, but being there, standing on a Halo ring and having to physically like look up at an elite to meet their gaze, that makes the Covenant just feel so much more real and powerful. I try to dispel these uncomfortable feelings by sheepishly waving to the Banshee wailing overhead, which clearly distracted him.
Good driving, dickhead.
I made it past the search party and linked up with Johnson and some Marines before crossing my arms and assuming the pose of a group of middle-aged fathers at a barbecue.
We're scattered all over this valley. We called for evac, but until you...
Now in this VR mod of Halo, some actions are bound to gestures like raising my hand to the left side of my head switched on my flashlight, or crouching, IRL crouches in-game, and other actions are bound like a traditional video game, like on a controller. For example, you press this button to throw a grenade, and just clicking it will throw your grenade at whatever angle you're looking at. Now I hadn't fully processed this distinction yet, as I had started attempting to throw grenades by literally throwing while pressing the button, which led to interesting results.
Oh, where did that go?
This strategy was short-lived, however, because I threw my shoulder out while trying to lob a grenade at a dropship.
Ah, my bloody shoulder. I just threw my shoulder out.
Not only was I adopting the stance of a middle-aged man, I was also adopting the body aches and pains too. How nice. In this section, I started dying. And so I adopted the same strategy I did when I was a child. That is, hiding at the top of the structure and letting the enemies come to me. And it worked just about as well as it did back then, which is to say, it did not. After approximately 800 deaths, I decided to change up the strat and play around the large rocks near where you first enter in the area, and I soon cleared the checkpoint.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Roger, Echo 419. This is Fire Team Charlie. We read you. Is that you, Fohammer? Roger, Fire Team Charlie. Good to hear from you. Fohammer, we need transportation to the command shuttle. I'm on my way.
More lifeboats. They're coming in fast.
Fohammer then delivered me the Warthog, and the gun agreed to me by pointing the triple-barreled minigun at my head menacingly.
Stop pointing that thing at me, dude. I'm innocent.
He is clearly the alpha in this relationship. I then got into the Warthog, only to discover that the controls were pretty janky.
Oh, this is sus. I don't like this at all.
You control the speed with the left joystick and the direction with the right joystick, but if you adjust like the Y-axis at all, that is like up or down, it just like loses all speed and momentum. It's just so weird, and I never figured out how to make it feel not cooked throughout the whole playthrough. And also, whenever you get in or out, it does this. Which I can assure you feels 100 times worse than it looks when you have a VR headset strapped to your forehead. I drove out of the cave, taking in the gorgeous scenery, headed to the lifeboat, acquired the sniper rifle, then to everyone's surprise, I actually hit a shot with it. I then wasted all of the sniper ammo by trying to kill the single elite up top.
Trick shot. Boom.
I am awesome. I then headed inside the structure to try to save the Marines, but when breaking them out, I died and had the reaction of a toddler who just soiled their pull-up.
Uh-oh.
Attempt number 2, I died in the exact same spot, which really aggravated my dog. Why were you so angry, Walter? You can talk to me. He says he doesn't know. Oh, he's tired now. Attempt number 3, I got out without dying, but all of the Marines died. Rest in peace. So I moved back to the Warthog and drove to the next group of Marines, picked up a sniper from this dead guy, and had a pleasant exchange with one of my fellow servicemen.
Nice to see you, sir.
Thanks, dude.
I sure hope nothing bad happens to him. Everybody died except one single Marine who joined me and my gunner as we journeyed towards the final set of Marines, the final squad. I then promptly abandoned them as I grabbed a health pack, a sniper, and hit this gangster no-scope on a grunt. I said g'day to yet another group of Marines that were almost certainly moments away from perishing. I jumped across the gap to a sniper perch and started taking names. I burned through my sniper ammo quickly and was left with just a needler and a dream, but it didn't take long for my needler ammo to deplete as well, and so I had to make a break for this plasma rifle but got killed immediately.
No!
It was at this moment that my situation was slowly dawning on me. I'd gotten a checkpoint where I had 0 sniper ammunition, 12 needler rounds in reserves, and the cherry on top, 1 HP. Now up until this point, my legendary playthrough had been going fairly smoothly with a few deaths here and there, but I was honestly doing better than I expected adapting to the new VR controls. Until now, where I got absolutely destroyed. So, here's the situation. My checkpoint spawned me with 2 jackals to my left and an elite with some grunts to my right. So my strategy was to rush the jackals, steal a plasma pistol, and then go from there. That was not working for me, so I tried a new strategy that involved some parkour to get down behind some of the enemies that were rushing me. For a couple of attempts, I even tried to use the warthog as a weapon, which went about as well as you would expect. So my next strategy was a little more ethically questionable.
Well, you buddy? Whoa! Over here! Got it!
With my newly acquired sniper ammo, I made another break for the warthog, but instead of using it as a weapon, I unashamedly deserted the surviving Marine force, drove away, and got another checkpoint in a less precarious situation. My next stroke of genius was to backtrack through the level to the previous life pods and scavenge some ammo, when I found a plasma pistol and a pistol. Things were finally looking up. I used my noob combo to sit at the entrance of the final area and slowly pick off all of the Covenant. Not the most exciting strategy, but at this point, dude, I was just trying to get it done. I killed the last few enemies, I let out a sigh of relief, and then I boarded the Pelican and finished the mission. A full 40 minutes after getting that ammo-starved checkpoint where I had 1 HP. I was honestly pretty worried about Truth and Reconciliation, the 3rd mission, as I remember it being the most challenging mission in my Lasso playthrough. If you know, you know. And while I was getting used to the VR controls, I still am way less confident than I would be on a mouse and keyboard or controller. So as I jumped out of the Pelican with my sniper, I got to taking out as many of the Covenant as I could while remaining in an epic and stealthy crouch. I actually managed to clear out most of the area before the Covenant started fighting back. A rare marksman W for me at this point in my VR career. I was feeling pretty good about myself until I threw a grenade at a rock next to me. Uh-oh, I didn't mean to do that. Reminding me that I am in fact still bad. I remembered the sneaky elite that hides around the corner to the right. I remember you, bitch. Offed him and his grunt mate. Then this happened. Oh no! My men! Oh, they're all dead! Oh, I got one alive. Never mind. They're all dead. I didn't take the loss of my men well, and hunted down the remaining Covenant like an actual psychopath, killing them with my bare hands. You want some of these hands, bitch? What about you? Huh? 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 Ha ha! I'm here. Boof! I was a bit weak after chasing down my victims, so I backtracked to pick up a health pack and then continued on. Foehammer then brought in some more Marines. I started to continue on to the next area when I forgot about the gang of elites that spawn. No way I'm back here. I then respawned before that entire section I just completed, so I was pretty cut about that. So I redid everything I just completed, even sneaking in a cheeky marksman's crouch. And then I got up to the elites, the squad that killed me. I super command one with my needler, hit one with a 1-2 buckle my shoe before throwing a grenade at my feet and killing everyone around me. Oh, no, that's the wrong button. So, the 3rd attempt, I pushed up far enough where the game gave me a checkpoint. Oh, got a checkpoint. I then deleted the pesky elites by pegging some nades around the corner. And look at that, another checkpoint. I started the next area off strong by chucking a plasma grenade that stuck straight onto an elite's chest while he was busy cussing me out in Sangheili. Oh, right at his chest. I was now directly underneath the Covenant ship and up to the section where waves of bad guys come down the gravity lift. I thought I had enough time to go to where like the dead Marine is with a heap of ammo, but when I was on my way over there, the first wave started coming down and I was caught completely in the open. I tried to retreat, but I was way too late and I perished. No! Sad, I know, but the silver lining is, when I respawned, I got to flex my flawless elite death impression. And then I straight up used the Marines that just got dropped off as a distraction to get health and ammo. The Marines and I fought off a few more waves until they all died painful, agonizing deaths, and I found myself pinned down behind a rock with gangsters charging my position. Oh my god. Get away from me! Against all odds, I survived and I got a checkpoint. Yes! Then the hunters came, which was very intimidating as a child, but this part of the mission is the part where invisible elites with energy swords rush you from random doors and can kill you or the Marines in a single hit. But I was honestly doing pretty well no-scoping them with the sniper.
I think that musical cue means that there's no more crazy elites.
And I thought I'd killed all of them when... No! I cleared the entire room again, killing the last sword elite.
Got him. Surely that's the last one.
Yes, that is the second time in a row that I've died in the exact same way. The next run, I tried to calmly and masculinely ask them to stop harassing me. Leave me alone! It didn't work.
Yeah, I'm so dead.
Then I tried being a bitch, peeking in and out of the door to clear the room.
I think I'm just gonna stay in here for a while.
Anyway, I made my way through the pink and purple halls of the Truth and Reconciliation, clearing out the enemies on my way when I let some frustrations out on this poor elite's corpse.
Yeah. Boom.
Sorry. I kept heading through the halls of the ship until I found where the captain and the gang was being held. Now, I'm about to go on record and say something kinda wild, but I think this section of this mission is the single worst design section of any section from the original Halo trilogy. Why? Well, because not only do you get sent back to the last checkpoint if you die, like normal in every other section of every other mission, but you also get sent back if Captain Keyes dies. And for some unknown reason, the mad lad just wants to one-up Chief and he runs headfirst into battle, like every time.
Why are you at the front?
Not Pogger's behavior from a VIP IMO. Here I am, leading the squad when a red elite comes around the corner and strips my shield. So naturally, I take cover in this nook in the wall. Now, let's play a bit of a game. Let's guess which of these 3 Marines is Captain Keyes. Plot twist, if you answered any of these, you would be wrong. Because the real Captain Keyes had teleported ahead of all of us and then charged the elite, dying instantly.
Oh, this is gonna suck.
Yes, past me. It will. I was here for a while, I'm not gonna lie. So instead of me sitting here complaining at you about all the times Keyes runs at enemies and dies, please enjoy this sensual montage of his death moans infused with my grievances.
He's such a wanker, bro. Why are you at the front? Oh my god. Why are you standing there, dude?
This had been going on so long that even the elites were finding my suffering amusing.
Oh, this ain't it.
Eventually, against all odds, I made it to the end. Truth and Rec was officially behind me.
Come on. Yes.
Hi, don't mind me, just interrupting super quick to say that this video project has easily been the most time consuming I've ever made. From playing the game, to writing the scripts, then filming myself in front of a green screen, then editing it. It has taken me like 3 weeks straight of all of my free time. And I'm actually pretty proud of this one. So if you are enjoying it, this is the time where I beg and plead you to please like and subscribe. It would be so awesome. Thank you, back to the video.
Touchdown! Hit it, Marine!
From the second I loaded into the silent Cartographer mission, I felt like I was on the beaches of Normandy, crouching behind rocks, pushing enemy positions with Marines, pelicans flying overhead that I stopped mid-battle to wave to for some reason, all while jamming out to the iconic Halo theme. It was pretty sick. Experiencing this fight in VR was actually pretty special. It was peak, not gonna lie. For the next group of enemies, I adopted an in-depth new strategy. just sit back and throw way too many grenades than I needed. I then proceeded to mop up the survivors, holding my pistol like I was trying out to join the Crips or something. I don't know why I was doing that. I pressed deeper into the inside of the island and came across a pair of hunters. And I already had a pistol in my hand, so they were nothing more than a minor inconvenience at best. I headed inside the structure where I made 2 more hunters disappear just as quickly as they appeared. I shut down the security system, then gave myself vertigo by staring straight down an abyss. I entered the aforementioned locked room and used this rocket launcher I found as a melee weapon to ensure this dude will be eating out of a tube for the rest of his life. I styled on yet another pair of hunters, and finally, we're at the map room, boys. We used this map to locate the control room of Halo, which we immediately started to assault in the 5th mission, my childhood favourite, Assault on the Control Room. I jumped out of the Pelican, took out the enemies and this grunt just in the nick of time before he turned the BFG towards my temple. I headed through the hall to witness the most stylish elite in all of the Covenant strut down the runway. Although he wasn't such a fan of me as I was of him, and he started shooting on sight. I sadly had to put down Sangheili Zoolander before I took out 3 grunts like I was lore-accurate Master Chief from the books. Next, I went outside onto the bridge and started crouching around and creeping up on sleeping grunts like a freak. Just as a side note, you never really think about how weird like walking around crouched feels when you're doing it in games. But in VR, when you have to like physically crouch down, I don't know, man. Something about it just makes me feel like I should become a Mr. Beast employee. Anyway, I died a few times on this section, but I soon had enough luck where most of the grunts slept through all of the shenanigans, and I made sure that they were never going to wake up. Boom! I threw a couple of grenades through the open door and just made a break for it. Only to get fully jump scared by this gold sword elite and just barely stay alive. I then came across some more sleeping grunts, which I bonked on the head. Then I crouched so far down that I went out of frame on my webcam for ultimate stealth points. However, I got impatient after like 2 seconds of this and slowly tried to peek around the corner, revealing my position instantly. So much for being ultra stealthy, I guess. I then started going in guns blazing before executing probably the most adept maneuver in the playthrough thus far. I'd definitely be more mad about this if I did not get to bonk all the sleeping grunts again, but I did. So, I even successfully executed the elite this time. Now, we outside. My favourite part of the entire game when I was a child. For the obvious reason, the tank. Only this time, I actually hated every second of it because as awesome and intuitive as the VR controls are for usual gameplay, they are every bit as awful and frustrating when in vehicles. Same deal in the Scorpion as it was in the Warthog. You have to use the thumbstick for aiming, which it's not a good thumbstick either. Like it simultaneously feels too sensitive and not sensitive enough, which is really quite impressive. Now, this is probably not the mod maker's fault, to be honest. It's probably just a limitation of my Quest 2 controllers. But it felt so bad. I spent a couple of minutes like going through the menus trying to work out how to rebind it, only to realize that there was actually no way I could do this from inside the pause menu. Awesome. So I pressed forward with the suboptimal control scheme, sitting back and carefully lining up shots to take out the enemy ghost, while Sergeant Johnson went absolutely sicko mode on the sniper from the front left tread. What a king. I took out another ghost and got a sweet sonic cocktail of death screams from the elite and affirmation from Johnson.
Oh yeah!
Thanks, Dad. I was getting tired of just sitting back and shooting everything, so I made a ballsy play and I just charged the Wraith, only for my boy Johnson to cop a Wraith shot to the forehead. I soldiered on and entered the tunnels and spotted not one, but 2 models strutting down the runway. I watched on, paralyzed, dumbstruck for a few seconds.
Oh, who is she?
Before crashing the party, killing the 2 superstars. Next up, after the tank section, was this tunnel with invisible sword elites, which I treated like how America treats the Middle East. That is to say, I used an excessive amount of firepower with little to no empathy. For the next group of enemies, I considered utilizing my active camo and taking a stealthier, more surgical approach, before opting with the more democratic approach. I made it into the next room where there were more sleeping grunts. I took a break from my grunt exterminating to double back smack these two elites before continuing my rampage. Actually, I managed to clear the entire room while not alerting anyone. Quite impressive by my standards, I would say. Then, I was up to quite possibly the most reloaded checkpoint in Halo history. No one I know would progress this mission until they stole the Banshee. Although this time was going to be different, because I don't even think I've ever done it without the Banshee, so I was curious to see what that actually entailed. Which is why when I first saw the tantalizing Banshee in front of me, I threw 2 stickies on it and cleared out the rest of the enemies, only to find that the Banshee literally did not care and was in perfect flyable shape. I'm only human. I tried to stop myself. I did. I flew to and entered the control room, plugged Cortana in, and she started freaking out and telling me to go save the captain. And that, my friends, was the end of the snow level. Now, if I may, I would like to impart just a little bit of lore from my childhood onto you. As I mentioned at the start of the video, I first played Halo CE when I was like 6 or 7 years old, but I literally only ever played the first 5 missions. As I said before, the snow level was my favorite, and I would play it and then get spawned into the next mission in the dim and wet swamp, feel crippling fear, and then leave. In fact, I only summed up enough courage to actually play and complete this next level, 343 Guilty Spark, when I was playing co-op with my cousin like 1 or 2 years later. So for me, the big reveal that's in this level hits extra hard. Needless to say, when I now spawned into this same swamp with a VI headset strapped to my head, all of those same irrational childhood feelings came flooding back. I walked through the swamp and spotted the shadowy figures in the distance, noticing the friendly green hue on my motion tracker, but I pressed on. The Covenant were running away from a strange alien structure, but I went inside, catching an elevator down, transporting me deep under the surface. Oh boy. I rounded a corner to find a group of Covenant, huddled together. It almost looked as if they were hiding. I went through the door to find Covenant bodies, mutilated, blood everywhere. I came across a friendly, sitting alone. His mind was broken. He opened fire on me. I had to put him out of his misery. All around the room was evidence of a hard-fought battle, although it was unclear just who had won. I rounded a corner, more blood, and a body. Human. There was banging, a crash. A door had busted open, revealing grotesque life forms, an amalgamation of rotten flesh and tentacles. The Flood. Sorry if you found that whole ghost story vibe incredibly cringy. I was trying something. Not sure if it worked or not. Let me know. Anyway, I began my escape of the facility by going up the elevator I came in from. New plan. I fought my way to a different elevator, but it only took me further down, which is the direction I did not want to go. At the bottom of the shaft, I grabbed an active camo and snuck past a bunch of space zombies. Then, I found where some Marines made their final stand, and I paid my respects by taking their shotgun, health, and ammo. I put my new shotty to the test against some freaks and cobber. Oh, it felt good. I found yet another elevator which was traveling in the desired direction this time, which is a bonus. But even better, I met up with some friendly, non-possessed faces at the top. I listened to this Marine vent his fears to me.
After we lost contact with the rest of the mission, we headed for the RV point, and then these things, they ambushed us. We gotta get out of here.
Proud of you, bro, it ain't weak to speak. And I led them out of the structure and back into the swamp. All was going well until the Marines and I got trapped in the middle of a valley with freaks coming in from all sides.
Uh-oh.
I watched them all die. I kept on going through the swamp alone before I heard a sultry singing voice. 343 Guilty Spark. This mysterious little fellow helped me fight back the Flood with his laser-wielding sentinels, and then introduced himself and teleported me to The library. Now, the library is without a doubt the most criticized level of Halo 1 for 3 main reasons. Reason number 1 is like the mission objective design. The level objectives basically boil down to follow 343 Guilty Spark or wait for 343 Guilty Spark to open a door, and that's pretty much it. Reason number 2 is there is little to no variety throughout the level in terms of scenery. It all takes place in the same Forerunner corridors. And number 3, these dickheads. Now, while I understand and agree with these criticisms to a certain extent, what I will say is in VR, the level is actually really fun. The whole vibe of just being a single super soldier with a shotgun fighting off waves of space zombies just feels so awesome in VR. It's pretty hard to like translate that enjoyment like from VR to a viewing experience, so I'll keep this level pretty short so you don't get bored. But basically, I plodded through the level with not a lot of difficulty. In fact, surprisingly, I haven't even died to the rocket flood. Scratch that, I only had a single death to a rocket flood, which, to be honest, that has to be some sort of record, I think. These guys are bitches. In fact, the only real difficulty I had in this entire level was at the very end. There was just so many freaks and I was running out of ammo. Not a good combo. I was stuck here for like 20 minutes until I realized you could just like walk around the back and avoid like 40% of the enemies. So yeah, I did that. 2 Betrayals begins with a single betrayal as 343 Guilty Spark almost tricks us into activating the Halo ring and killing literally everybody. Lucky, Cortana is a bad bitch and is like, nah bro, how about we not? Instead, we're gonna blow up Halo. Lol, Ruffle Mayo, get mogged, idiot. Blue Boss Man doesn't take this information well and turns against us, so we have to book it out of there. This next section took me a surprisingly long time to clear as there isn't much cover and I just kept getting caught off guard by aggressive enemies. I then figured out the best strategy was to just sit back and shoot the Covenant to help out the Sentinels for a little while. This is a side note real quick. My favorite part, and I think the coolest part about these later missions, is that at some points there are like 4 separate factions all fighting each other at the same time. It's just so cool. Like you can either join in on the fray or just like sit back and sort of just like watch it all play out and see who wins. I always like that. Anyway, I cleared the room finally and made my way outside and down the side of the fortress guarding the control room. I deleted the Gold Elite and made it to the Banshee. Now, I've got sad news to report. The Banshees felt just as awful as all the other vehicles and would randomly lose speed when looking up or down, just like the Warthog. So I made a conscious decision not to rely on the Banshee's guns and instead use it to mow down the enemies. Savage, I know. I wandered in, used my body to blow up a pulse generator, refused to elaborate, and left. I made a few dazzling plays with the Banshee when flying to the next canyon. And was taking out the coveys when the flood busted in and compromised my masculinity. Anyway, I then threw a grenade at the feet of 2 elites who just sort of accepted their demise. Then I had my second run-in with him. You're kidding. Which I initially couldn't help but chuckle at because the absurdity of it all was just kind of funny. Until I realized that my last checkpoint was like 10 minutes ago. And bro, that was not cool. I fought my way back to the bastard, dodged his rocket like Neo, and then I got my revenge. Next, I walked in on a scene that gave me nightmares as a child. Yes, that is the Flood eating the corpses of a grunt and an elite. So I respectfully asked them to leave. Then the Flood were doing some space alien zombie parkour at me, so I murdered them all, except one, which had become an amputee. So we just kind of looked at each other while I played with him for a little while. Then I narrowly avoided a rocket flood. I jumped into the microwave and used an indulgent amount of explosives to dispose of some more freaks. Next, I got back into my Banshee and headed to the final pulse generator, dodging rockets as I went. The door then blew up, forcing me to continue on foot, which was totally fine because, to be honest, flying these Banshees was starting to make me feel like vomiting. As I walked out of the tunnel to the epic soundtrack, watching the enemy factions fight one another, it just I don't know, man. It just made me happy, you know? Like, I honestly cannot tell if this game is like the best piece of media ever created, or I'm just full on a high on nostalgia right now. Look, it's probably the latter, but let's just pretend it's not, just for this moment. Anyway, I continued making my way through the Valley of the Shadow of Death, and I remembered from many wasted hours as a child that this next section was fairly tricky. So I immediately started making money moves and strategizing. My first plan was to loop around the right side behind all the enemies. Don't mind me, lads. Take out the big players, then steal a Banshee and be done with it. But I soon learned the hard way that even if you are actively taking cover in the back, freaks will literally spawn on top of you. And not just any freaks, invisible freaks. Oh! What are you guys doing here? Oh my god! I was in dire need of a new plan. The new strat was to go along the left side rather than the right, dodge the wraith shots, ask the rocket flood man nicely to not erase me from existence.
Oh, please don't.
And then just sort of make it up from there. Not the most detailed of plans, I know, but it actually worked. I had only a single death, which may or may not have been an unforced error, before I cleared the area of freaks, jumped in a Banshee, and headed towards the final objective. Once through the door, I said Geronimo, jumped onto the final pulse generator, ending 2 betrayals. Which it's now only become apparent to me that we've only witnessed a single betrayal at the beginning of the mission. So if anyone knows what that second betrayal is referring to, enlighten me. Peas. The penultimate mission. The objective? Find Captain Keyes in the wreckage of a Covenant ship. Surely, nothing bad will happen. I spawned in and the captain was straight up just broadcasting saucy messages to my WhatsApp.
Don't be a fool. Leave me.
Because he's cute like that. Then we come up to a giant hole in the ground and Cortana was all like, analyzing, boopity boop boop boop. But before she can finish her sentence, I, just like Shepard before me, have already said Geronimo. I immediately came out of the goo running, even though there was very clearly a plasma grenade in my path. The grenade took me down to 1 HP and then I immediately got a checkpoint, meaning that I couldn't just reload. Magnificent start, even by my standards. I then performed some epic parkour over a small rock, ran past a ruckus, threw some grenades around a corner where some freaks were waiting for me, which took them all out, propelling a shotgun to me, which I then swapped to. Look man, not gonna lie, I don't know where this humongous dick gamer energy was like 2 seconds ago when I walked onto a live grenade, but hey, when it comes to bragging about gamer girth, it's better late than never. Around the corner there was a health pack next to a sniper, which I used to dispatch of the hunters while maintaining my well-endowed gamer status. Then I emptied 2 magazines of sniper rifle shots into a single flood guy. Yeah, he has absolutely no right to be able to do that. The sniper just does nothing against flood in this game. So naturally I swapped out the sniper and jumped straight into the goo. At this point, most of the enemies had murdered each other, so I just kind of walked on past. I got up to the gravity lift and decided to just YOLO style it as I grabbed the overshield, took a dive through the goo, shotgunned the deformed freaks on my way past, and then ran like a maniac to the lift.
Oh lord. I'm going in, boys. I'm going in. Oh!
Against all odds, it actually worked.
I'm here. I'm here. Take me! Yes.
I was back aboard the ship and for some reason I took this as an opportunity to practice my melee technique. I don't really know what this means, to be honest. Like, do I need to talk to a therapist? As I was practicing my grenade tosses, Captain Keyes called my number again and whispered some more sweet nothings into my ear.
I gave you an order, soldier. Now pull out.
I ran through the halls to find the captain, assisting the aliens in their goal of killing each other, when I found him. The poor guy has been absolutely ravaged and turned into a freak. The chief then just straight up punches his head in to get his brain implants, and then without any like Norton antivirus scans or detection of malware, he just plugs it straight into his own head. That is just like wild behavior when you think about it. Anyway, I inspected the new hole in Captain Keyes' head. I headed out to the hangar, showed off my epic parkour skills, committed Grand Theft Auto, and concluded the mission. back where it all began. Inside the crashed Pillar of Autumn, this is the final mission, the Maw. The objective? Blow the whole ship up, destroying Halo and the Flood in the process. I was straight up vibing while having probably the most chill posture of anyone who has ever committed the act of murdering space zombies. I made my way to the engine room where the plan is basically to blow up stuff to trigger the destruction of the whole ship.
First, we need to pull back the exhaust couplings.
As I was listening to Cortana's instructions, she hit the fade in on Chief's iPod Nano and I went from straight up vibing to straight up vibing hard. Then I retracted the exhaust coupling, jumped onto it, threw some grenades into the fusion reactor, all while trying not to get beamed by sentinels. Now if that's too much sci-fi jargon and you have no idea what I just said, throw boom into engine to create bigger boom. Part 1 of 4. I then spotted the big dog 343 Guilty Spark himself, and I shook my fist at him just in case there was any doubt in his mind that we were in fact not friends. I then completed step 2, step 3, and finally step 4 in the blow up ship quest, which started a chain reaction that would cause a nuclear explosion in mere minutes. Then I took the elevator up and hopped into a warthog. Now, this is the part of the story where my vibe levels went from straight up vibing hard to wanting it all to be over. It being this playthrough and my life. And I know that if there's anyone still watching this, you'll be so truly sick of me complaining about the vehicles by now, but my God, it was so unenjoyable. Again, for some reason, when I move my camera up or down, the Warthog just does this thing. It just stops. When I've watched this back, actually, I've just come to the realization that the brake lights go on when I move up or down. I think the problem is that the brake was also bound to looking up or down for some reason. As I said at the start of this video, I literally have no experience in a VR first-person shooter, so I'm really not sure why it is that way, but whatever, it is. I don't know if it's probably a user error, let's be real. I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh my God.
I died a lot here, and there was a few times when I almost went full-on gamer rage mode. In this run, I was the furthest I'd ever been up to by a long shot when this happened.
What?
At this point, vibes were off, but I didn't give up. I was locked in. Here I am, I floored it up this ramp, just making the jump before sending it off the other side down into the tunnel, careening on my front 2 wheels. I sent it past the pylon, swinging right, avoiding the ramp, and swinging left, swinging right, past the freaks, swinging left again, swinging right again, then left, right, before popping a hard 90-degree right-hander into a jump onto the catwalk through the explosions. I floored it over a ramp, but didn't quite make the jump and landed right next to some grunts. With every fuel rod shot that surrounded me, my screen was shaking to oblivion. It was so disorienting. I didn't even know where I was, but somehow I made it out alive. I floored it, off the gap, sailing through the air like a stone being thrown across a lake. I stuck the landing and skipped along, clearing another jump like it was nothing. I squeezed through this tight space, alien zombies ricocheting off my bumper as roadkill. I drove through the hole, revealing the fighter ship waiting for me.
That's the ship!
I dished the Warthog, threaded the pylons like a young boy dribbling a soccer ball through witches' hats at soccer training. I unleashed the hail of lead from my trusty shotty at the flood freaks in my way, but an elite had chosen to make me his victim.
Don't touch me! No! No!
I said very masculinely before running straight for the ship and making an escape with 1 HP remaining.
This is it, baby. Hold me.
And just like that, my great journey was over. I had finished the fight. And although the last section was tainted a little bit due to the quirked up vehicle controls, the rest of this VR mod has been such a cool experience. So I just wanted to thank the mod creator, whose name is Living Frey, for letting me relive my childhood through this fantastic game in a completely new way. I've genuinely had heaps of fun. And as far as me being a VR noob goes, I think I adapted actually quicker than I thought I would. If you wanted to check it out for yourself, I've left a link to the mod page below the like button, which has all the install instructions and stuff like that to get you going. To anyone who is still watching, thank you so much. I hope you're at least partly entertained. See you later.